When we're working with rational expressions, either adding or subtracting or multiplying, dividing, we have to make sure we state restrictions. And restrictions are essentially when the denominator factors are equal to 0. To do that, we need to make sure we factor these fractions. So the first one here, we're going to take x squared minus 5x plus 6. We're going to factor it to x minus 3, x minus 2, plus x squared minus 8x plus 15 factors to x minus 3, x minus 5. So once I factor the denominators, I can state my restricted values. So x cannot be equal to positive 3, because that will make this factor equal to 0, which gives me a divide 0. X cannot be equal to 2, and x cannot be equal to 5. So I don't need to repeat that 3 here, but I need to make sure that I recognize that there's a new factor over here of minus 5. So once I stated my restricted values, I can go ahead and find my common denominator. To find my common denominator, I'm looking for factors, and whatever factors are missing from one fraction, I have to make sure I add in. So here I have a minus 3, minus 2. I'm missing a minus 5 factor. So I'm going to put an x minus 5 factor in the denominator, but I have to make sure that I balance the fraction with another x minus 5 in the numerator. Here on this side, I'm missing an x minus 2, so I need to make sure I put an x minus 2 to make the two denominators match. But by doing that, I need to make sure that I balance the fraction with an x minus 2 on the top. Now that I have a common denominator, I can add these together. So I'm going to expand out so I can combine my like terms. So I end up with 2x minus 10 plus, and I always put these in brackets because whatever signs here, we're going to do everything on this side in the numerator up here. So this is not an issue when it's plus, but when it's minus, it becomes a big issue. So when I distribute that, I'm going to end up with 3x minus 6. So then my common denominator is x minus 2, x minus 3, x minus 5. I've now need to combine my like terms in the numerator. I end up with 5x minus 16 all over my common denominator of x minus 2, x minus 3, x minus 5, and I should see if I can factor the numerator to see if there's any common factors I can cancel out, but 5x minus 16 does not factor, so there's my final answer. Now I'm going to leave my final answer factored because number one, it's much easier, much better when we see the factors. Number two, it's much easier as well. We don't need to expand that all out. It's unnecessary. For this one here, same thing. I'm subtracting this time though. I need to factor the denominator. Multiplies to 40 has a difference of 3 is negative 8 plus 5 here we end up with x plus 5 times x plus 5, or x plus 5 squared. Once I've got it factored, I can identify my non-permissible values where I'm dividing by 0. So when it's positive 8 and negative 5. Okay, and that's my only restrictions. I should see if I can simplify the fractions. These fractions don't seem to simplify, so I want to now get a common denominator. It's always a good idea to simplify whenever possible. Okay, so whenever I get a chance to simplify fractions, I should do that. So I'm missing here an x minus 8 factor. I need to make sure I multiply the top and bottom by the x minus 8 factor. Here I'm going to multiply the top and bottom by an x plus 5 factor because I have two of them. Okay, here I had 2, so I need to make sure I have 2 over here. I've now got my common denominator. I want to multiply out my numerator and combine like terms. So here I get 3x squared plus 15x minus, this is where the brackets are really handy. I need to make sure I minus everything I get when I expand this out. So it's really important to keep track of your pluses and minuses. Here I get x squared minus 10x plus 16. And that's all over my common denominator of x minus 8, x plus 5 times x plus 5, or x plus 5 squared. I want to combine my like terms now. I end up with 2x squared. And this is important. Now that I have 15x, I'm going to do a minus minus. So that really is a plus 10x. So 25x minus positive 16, so that's minus 16. And that's all over my common denominator. Now this does not look factorable, but I should really check. Are there any numbers that multiply to 32, negative 32, and have a difference of 25? Are there any whole numbers that do that? No, so this is not factorable. There's no common factor. I should always look for that first. But that expression is not factorable, so this is as far as I can go. I do not need to multiply this out because we really want to keep it in factored form. And we can be confident that since that doesn't factor, that nothing is going to cancel out.